Welcome back, and today we are going to talk about noses, which, like horses, noses are kind of a hated topic with artists because they can be relatively tricky to draw convincingly, but let's break it down. Are you ready? Okay, let's start with the head. So I'm putting in my modified Loomis head, and I'm going to focus in on this area of the nose. Before I begin, there are some things to consider, and the style of the head is kind of dictating this, but are you going for realism or cartoon? And also consider your line weight, meaning the relative thickness of your line to the size of the drawing that you are making. So let's get down to some style and substance and look at some different noses. They vary, obviously, from person to person, but they can also vary to fit the style or shape language of your work. For instance, here's a very simplistic Jack Kirby nose, a knobby Simpsons nose, and a more realistic and detailed nose. Hey, there's even a non-existent nose, and then there's everywhere in between. So for making our own noses, let's prescribe a shape library. I'm always going to have a circle in there. You can always assume that. We're also going to work with some triangles, some ovals, ellipses, and maybe the odd four-sided polygon. But really, that's about it. It's a pretty simple setup for a nose. And what's great is you can vary the order. I'm starting with a circle on this one, and you notice that my circle droops down a little bit below the edge of the triangle. And I have a little parenthesis there to mark the edge of the nostril flare. But I could also start with a triangle. I could adjust the bottom angle of that triangle to make a droopy or an upturned nose, and I can add in my circles and parentheses later. Starting with a circle in a 3/4 perspective, I'm moving those parentheses a little bit further to right and left to adjust for that turn in space. And while we're at it, let's play with one more view, and that is going to be from underneath. So if you can draw a tent, you can draw a nose. Further, adding a triangular cast shadow will give your nose a more convincing illusion of depth, but remember that our noses change with our expression, so a smile will cause the nostrils to flare and widen so we see more of them in those instances. Which brings us to connecting the nose to the face. So let's draw another head. A little bit bigger this time, a little bigger, there we go. So it's very important the bridge of the nose here because there are changes in direction from the brow ridge down to the tip of the nose. I'm going through a couple of variations here, but this is probably best seen in more of a profile view. Also, if you can draw a rocket ship, you can draw a nose. Okay, that profile view. So you can see these noses as I'm going through them and then moving them up to the top. I've got upturn, I've got downturn, I've got hooked and broken and wide and you name it. Easy peasy, right? Right? Okay, well, some final thoughts in closing. Noses and ears never stop growing, so your nose and your ears can be a strong indicator of age and characters that you're designing. In addition to age, noses can also vary by ethnicity. So my advice to you would be to pay attention to noses that you see, either in images or in the people around you. Keep drawing, and I'll be back soon with another criminally brief tutorial.